In 2012, U.S. authorities have been aggressively going after global banking institutions and corporations that have allegedly violated numerous compliance regulations. What do you need to do to help your firm avoid such violations? Here to help us answer that question is Henry Bellani. He's Managing Director of the Compliance Group for Accuity, and he joins us right now. Henry, welcome.
Thank you.
Henry, how have compliance regulations impacted firms recently?
Yes, that's a great question. Recently, U.S. authorities have been aggressively going after global banking institutions and corporations that have allegedly violated the U.S. Bank Secrecy Act, the Anti-Money Laundering, as well as the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. The U.K. has also recently introduced its version of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act called the U.K. Bribery Act. It is interesting to note that in the last 10 years alone, enforcements related to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act have in fact more than doubled. And banks like Barclays, HSBC, Lloyds, and Standard Chartered, and even corporations like Daimler and Johnson & Johnson have all been accused of such violations relating to money laundering and corruption. We've seen a lot of publicity around this in the press, resulting in multi-million-dollar fines, reputational damage, and even imprisonment for the individuals responsible.
So what should firms do to avoid such violations?
It's important for organizations to maintain screening systems as well as ensuring policies and procedures are enforced to protect the firm from AML sanctions and anti-bribery and corruption violations. When you look at the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and the UK Bribery Act in particular, these acts require firms to adopt a well-defined compliance program, and that includes establishing policies, controls, employee training, and monitoring. Anti-money laundering policies itself require that organizations screen against at least 40-plus sanction lists published by various regulatory agencies throughout the world. The challenge is in consolidating these, which is often updated weekly. Firms should also ensure that their AML screening systems are optimized to catch as many true hits as possible while eliminating obvious false hits.
And finally, Henry, what areas of the business are ultimately responsible for determining and implementing policies that comply with these regulations?
While the Chief Compliance Officer is most often held accountable, ultimately any area of the business that deals with implementing and following policies and procedures related to these regulations will probably be held responsible as well. It's important to remember that the responsibility does not end with the CCO, the Chief Compliance Officer. Even operations, legal, finance, accounting, and sales will all have to be accountable, as the reputational damage from these issues ultimately will affect the entire business.
Henry, we really appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time as well.
Accuity is on the web at www.accuity.com. That's ACCUITY.com.